Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for being here. My name is Mariana, and I am here to introduce you to TripleHope, the only genomic test for TNBC. But first, I wanted to talk about breast cancer. Please raise your hand if you know someone who is going or has gone through a breast cancer diagnosis. I do, and I feel like pretty much everyone here does. Well, that is because from all women sitting in this audience, and actually all women in the world, all of us have a 12% chance of developing breast cancer during our lifetimes. But not all breast cancers are the same. Actually, there's a breast cancer subtype classification that is based on the presence of 3 receptors only, and that's estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. But from these 4 breast cancer subtypes, one of them, triple-negative breast cancer, is classified based on the lack of presence of these receptors. And so if you do develop breast cancer during your lifetime, and you're one of the 15% of women that have TNBC out of all those 4 subtypes, your chances of survival will decrease. That's because TNBC is not only the most lethal of all subtypes, it's also the one with the highest recurrence rates. And more than that, it's considered to be very variable. Well, what does this mean? This means that when we look at a TNBC tumor, no 2 cells are the same within the same individual. And this is also true if we compare tumors from 2 different patients. So when we treat these patients with the same treatment, their cells are not going to react in the same way. So this makes TNBC very hard to treat. And so if we keep this in mind, we can think that doctors will have a very hard time with treating each of their patients with the right treatment. So what's happening nowadays is that all of these patients are treated with unspecific chemotherapy, which, as all of us have probably witnessed, has wide systemic side effects that lead to a slow degradation of the patient's quality of life. And on top of this scenario, as you undergo this harsh chemo treatment, your doctors are unable to answer you when you ask them, will this treatment really help me? So another thing, apart from the side effects, has to do with chemotherapy's uncertainty of outcome. But because it's the only way to go for TNBC patients, the only treatment they have, all of them are treated with it. But 60% of them are considered to be mistreated, which means they take little or no benefit from this treatment's application. But we came up with a solution. TripleHope is a prediction-based genomic test that is capable of predicting the likelihood of recurrence within 3 or 5 years after diagnosis, as well as the likelihood of success of any given therapies. So not only do we help profile each tumor, we also give advice on the best treatment and give a probability of recurrence for each patient. This means with our test, you can sit down with your doctor and decide on the best therapy combination based on our test. Whether that is just chemotherapy, because maybe that works for you, maybe a more targeted immunotherapy, or maybe, most likely, a combination of both these 2. But how did we get here? So we first went to publicly available data sets and analyzed all of our TNBC patients' data and looked at all of their genes. And we found a pattern within 22 of these genes. With this pattern, we then built a molecular signature and constructed it into a master algorithm that is based on machine learning approaches. And this is the final output from our tests. So with doing our test, you and your doctor will get access to this 1-page individualized report that tells you about a recommended therapy just for you, a probability of survival, and a probability of this therapy's success. And so it works as a decision support tool and helps you and your doctor decide on the best treatment for you. And we've managed to do all of this without really disrupting the usual cycle of care for a TNBC patient in the clinics. So imagine you or your wife were just diagnosed with TNBC. Right after the diagnosis, a piece of your biopsy sample will be shipped directly to TripleHope's proprietary central laboratory, where we take care of all of the analysis. So we start by calculating the expression levels of these 22 genes. We then run our molecular signature with our master algorithm and obtain the final output, which is an individual score, different for each patient, that is put into a report which is directly sent to the hospital via an encrypted cloud system and can then be viewed by you and your doctor. And we charge $3,900 per test. So this product would fit in a $1 billion global market that is worth $400 million for North America and Europe alone, and has a compound annual growth rate estimated to be 1.2%. We're planning on reaching the US as our first market. First of all, because the slice of the population is composed of African American women, in which TNBC is highly incident. Furthermore, the US has a unified reimbursement system where genomic tests and precision medicine are considered to be mainstream, and where there's a heavy investment in the areas of healthcare and innovation. There are no products like our own in the market right now. However, there are some companies like these ones you can see right now that are selling and developing molecular signatures for other cancer types. So even though they're not focusing on TNBC yet, we consider them to be our potential competitors. This is our roadmap. So until 2021, we'll be focusing on testing final optimizations, which are going to cost us $500,000. Then in 2022, we'll be moving to the US and setting up our CLIA certified lab. Then from 2023 up until 2028, we'll be focusing on market entry, reimbursement support, our clinical studies until we reach a US nationwide availability. We plan to enter the market in 2023 and expect to make $40 million in revenues by 2028. This is our team. So we are 4 researchers with a combined 20 years of experience in cancer research and bioinformatics. We have Fernando, our MBA student, who has been very helpful with building our financial, market, and sales model, and a great panel of advisors who have helped making this business possible. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's think about those people that we just thought of 7 minutes ago. We want to help people with breast cancer. TripleHope is here to help make TNBC a less daunting breast cancer diagnosis. Thank you for your attention.